This is the Construction Insiders podcast. I'm Jessica Busch, bringing you the newest trends and strategies in construction, essential to anyone in the industry. Welcome back to the Construction Insiders podcast for our part 2 of the themed entertainment discussion. I'm sitting here with Asif Parkar and Eugenie LeRoux, and we are going to dive into all things cost, budget, and what's next. However, if you missed us the first part, on part 1, this is what we talked about.
Like I said, in the olden days, you were looking at themed places.
Yes.
Now you are part of it.
We know that the US is a mature market. The theme park industry basically grew up here. But then you look at somewhere like the Middle East, where there's just explosive growth at the moment.
There's more focus on sustainability because it is not a nice to have anymore. It is people want to see that you are sustainable and that you're thinking about the environment.
Asif, and I don't mean to, I know you're ready to go with some of these questions I have, but I have noticed, and I think maybe it was because the microphone was in front of it, but I noticed you have a new pin on your jacket. And so without embarrassing you too much, can you please explain to me why you're wearing this and when this showed up?
Oh, yeah. I was recognized as one of the top 50 influencers in the theme park industry at an event that was hosted by Blue Loop yesterday. So they gave me a badge.
Oh, look at you. Okay, congratulations.
Congrats. Wow, congrats.
Well done, well deserved. Well, wonderful. Okay, so I can't think of a better way. I'm glad I asked. I can't think of a better way to start off this next question then. I will fire this one at you. What are some of these key lessons that you've learned from these landmark builds? And how does this kind of apply across every project in this space, regardless of size?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough that over my last, 10, 15 years, I've managed to work on a lot of the high-profile projects, whether it's Dubai Parks and Resorts, which is actually a multi-theme park project, quite a rare feat, Shanghai Disneyland, Warner Brothers Abu Dhabi, and the Universal Beijing Resort, and more recently, Epic Universe, in addition to a whole bunch of attractions and so on. And I would say, in my experience, the projects that fare the best are those where you have a strong structure and particularly a strong project leader or leaders. And they tend to follow a hierarchy. And that hierarchy, if you picture a pyramid, at the top of the pyramid, at the apex there, you've got safety, no doubt about it. You know, a safety incident in the industry or any project is very impactful for the entire industry. So right at the top is safety. But just below that is guest experience. We do these projects to excite, delight, and leave guests with wonderful memories.
Delight. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. So you have guest experience there. And then just below that, you have operations, right? These projects need to be run efficiently, need to be run profitably, and it need to be
Which
run...
we talked about a little bit.
Exactly.
Part 1, yes.
Yeah, safely as well. So that's very important as well. Then at the base of the pyramid, down at the bottom, you have facility. Now, this is the really important point. Facility is basically, if you think of an attraction building, facility is the box. The box is there purely to receive the theming in the show. It shouldn't be what guests see. So the best projects are the ones where they prioritize in that hierarchy and make sure that not too much money is being diverted to facility. It's about the guest experience, of course. So that's why those projects need to prioritize, and they're the best ones. There's lots of examples where the hierarchy wasn't followed, and unfortunately you're left with a great roof with minimal guest experiences inside. You probably know some of them, right?
I saw her trying to quiet her laugh over there a little bit. But yes, everyone, I'm sure, especially with your perspective, you can walk in to a situation like that and immediately see when that hierarchy was not followed.
It's really, really apparent. I think just one other thing that I would add is it's also really important on these projects that they start off with a budget, and that budget is typically prepared with the assistance of feasibility consultants, because they do their research, right? And they look at the market and so on. But very, very rarely are the estimators involved at that point. And that's really damaging for a lot of projects, because what happens is that the feasibility consultants do their work. They'll do the revenue, how many people are going to come to the park, how much are they going to spend. So that's the sort of the revenue side of things.
Right.
And then they'll know what the client or the developer is looking for in terms of a ROI, a return on investment.
What the expectation is there.
Yeah, and they do a sort of reverse calc, and they get to what's called a warranted investment number. That is the budget. But you can see that there's no sort of process for an estimator to validate that. So what typically happens, and I call this the cycle of death, is that feasibility cycle happens, and then a master plan is brought on board to do some designs, and then the estimator is brought on board, and lo and behold, we do our bottoms-up analysis or benchmarking, and it doesn't conform to the...
backwards.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's when you get that, fork in the road, projects stall, stop, or
and
more
that's
probably
why you
they
said
die.
so many more fall a sad death.
Yeah.
And then come
exactly
to fruition and stay open.
Exactly. Now, the solution to that is quite straightforward, and that is have the estimator involved in the feasibility studies.
Right.
And I can think of a couple of recent examples. Worked on a project in Singapore and another one in the US, where we're at the table while the feasibility consultants were doing their work. Now, they did their work just like they normally would.
Right.
But we were able to see what the warranty investment number was, and we were able to say, you can't build a project for that. That doesn't work. We don't need a lot of drawings at that point, but we can tell you straight away with the information that we've got, with the benchmarking that we've got. And then, but because we're at the table with them, there's a fantastic opportunity to work collaboratively.
Right.
So we help them, and we might ask a few questions on the revenue side, but they sort of tweak a few of the numbers on that end. And then we look at the other end of it, maybe work with the master plan, look at the program itself, and then together we actually can work together to get the numbers to align from both ends so that everyone's happy, right? The ROI still works. The revenue side, we've got a basis behind that. And there's a good basis for that investment number. Right. And those projects that I mentioned, they went forward, they got greenlit, and the project was successful. Right. So that's the preferred way of doing things.
Right. Well, that's a good lesson learned to mention.
Absolutely.
It seems significant.
Which we've seen so many times, is, like Asif was saying, you have the warranted investment, and then a master plan, and then estimators come along and completely different numbers. And then the minute when that happens, that is immediately when the schedule starts slipping, because now we can't afford it. So now there is time spent on redesign, there is time spent on, does the numbers work out? And what originally was a schedule, this is how long this is going to take, and it's always a tight schedule. Your schedule immediately starts slipping, and
which also
design
costs more money.
are more because they have to redesign. So that is, I think, the most crucial thing is to get the estimators involved right from the start.
Yeah, Eugenie, themed entertainment, talking about cost and how things can slip. Due to the complexity of managing cost on a major themed experience, how does that differ compared to like an office project or schools? I mean, what are these unique challenges that you're faced with and having to navigate?
That's a good question. So let's call it, I'm just going to categorize it as themed entertainment or non-themed entertainment.
Okay.
Which is schools or office or whatever. Those are all what we would call standard construction.
The non-themed.
Okay. The focus is possibly more on, being more efficient. However, when you come to themed entertainment, it is very, very different. So let's call it your standard buildings is just one component of the themed entertainment project. And the other part is really the complex creative design that you really need to think of. And that is basically what is the cost of creating these immersive experiences.
Okay.
Which is a lot of times technology that doesn't exist already, and
building for technology that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and you have to look at a beautiful rendering and see, okay, I look at the rendering and I'm looking at the design narrative or a story, and you need to go, okay, I need to allow for special effects, and if I read the storyline, you need to know, there is animatronics, and there is, it's all these extra things that are not spelled out, whereas a facility, there's doors, there's windows, brick walls or stucco, whatever.
Oh, and just to add to those great points, Eugenie, I also see a difference in terms of theme versus non-themed with regards to story. Now, story is what the creative team is responsible for, and that story is sometimes very apparent and sometimes it's really subtle. So I'll give you a couple of examples. When you go to Forbidden Journey at Universal Studios, there's no doubt what that attraction is about, what it's themed on.
Right.
When you go to Disney California Adventure, I don't know if most of the sort of guests that visit it really understand the backstory behind it. It's rather subtle, but the backstory is recreating a time when Walt Disney himself came to California. And that's why that project, when they reimagined it, includes Carthay Circle Theatre. Carthay Circle Theatre doesn't exist anymore in LA, but it did when Walt Disney was there. In fact, it's very important because it played Snow White for the very first time. So there's an example where there's a story, and I love hearing about those backstories, but most of the general public probably aren't aware of it.
Did you see the look on my face? I was like, okay.
But it's phenomenal. I'll give you another one, actually. So, Jessica, can you tell me, before Mickey Mouse, who was the character that Walt had designed?
Oh, don't quiz me on this. I have no idea.
You can research this later, but there was a rabbit.
Okay.
And the rabbit's name was Oswald.
Yes.
Oh,
Now,
that's a
how do
lovely
they
name.
weave the story of Oswald within Disney California Adventure? Well, for your viewers, do know that there's a line in the paving. I'll just explain this. You can meet Oswald as long as you're at the entrance. Oswald, you'll see him there, and you can interact with Oswald.
Oh.
However, if you cross that line, you're going past 1928, which is the arrival of Mickey Mouse.
So no more Oswald.
No more Oswald. So Oswald will never cross that line, and Mickey Mouse will never cross this way. Isn't that funny?
I feel like whenever I finally take my family, I'm going to make
You're going to look for that?
No, I'm going to make you come with me and explain all these
And meet
stories.
Oswald.
There's plenty of other stories and secrets. So
I'm just going to make you show up with my family. Perfect. Okay. I can sense a lot of challenges with something like this. Custom fabrication, the show systems, integrating all of that. It can only wreak havoc in terms of money and budget. Asif, I'm going to throw this one at you.
All right. I would agree. Yeah, it does.
How uniquely difficult is this?
I think the response to that really deserves an hour. But in the short time,
I'm not going to give you that long. So
okay, so I'll try and condense it to a couple of things. Look, I've worked on many types of projects, from data centers to schools to libraries to civil, etc., etc. And I can tell you that there's a couple of areas which really define the uniqueness and the difference between a theme project and a non-theme project. And it starts with design.
Okay.
So it's only on theme projects where you have this mysterious group of individuals that comprise a creative design team. So show producers and executive directors and fads
on
and
a construction
animatronics.
project, yes.
Right. It's like, why would you have them on a school project? Of course you wouldn't. That's ridiculous. But this group comes together for these types of projects in a really unique way. And if you haven't worked on these projects, you wouldn't know how to work with them. The creative team needs room at the start just to breathe and develop their ideas. This is a really important thing. So as an estimator, you cannot throw the budget noose around them too soon. You actually have to let them develop their ideas, and then the ideas mushroom out, and then your role later on comes to try and squeeze all that back into a budget box. So, and to be clear, the creative team is not instead of the A&E, the architecture and engineering team. It's in addition to. So you can see right there, there's an additional
more cooks
cost,
in the kitchen.
right? So there's an additional soft cost there. So just understanding the creative process, that's a key difference. And then let's touch upon scope. So as Eugenie mentioned, on a traditional project, you'll have concrete, steel, masonry, and so on. And a theme park project will have those things as well. And in the case of, let's say, exterior plaster, a estimator that's been estimating for a period of time, they can understand the nuances for theme plaster versus maybe regular plaster that they've priced before, because there's a relationship, right? So they can understand that. But then you get to other scopes of work. Show. Now, this is where the magic happens. And what do we mean by show? It's things like animatronics, artificial foliage, content creation, and props and so on. And the important thing is, all those things I've mentioned, they're not subsets of what you might learn as an estimator for general construction. So I've had this situation where a 30-year estimating veteran will walk into the office and say, Asif, I want to work on theme park projects. I've done lots of project types, and there's no doubt that the individual has. But if I say, well, how would you price show action equipment? And they'll say, well, what's that? Okay, so that answers that. How would you price an animatronic figure? And what we're trying to do is a beast. So it's going to have, furred skin, and it's going to be 10 foot tall, and it's got 15 functions, and it's going to have LED effects as well. And it's a first in kind.
Their eyes just glaze over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are the types of things. And this is the beauty as well. So it's not for everybody. Some people are cut out just for nice straight lines, Costco type boxes. But, if that's where you're sort of wired, then this is not the industry to be in, because you're not going to find many straight lines here.
I was going to say, I don't hear any straight lines in what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
So all of that, and I've not even spoken about the rides. So when you have rides, okay, so is it a kiddie ride? Is it what's called a family ride, like an Omnimover ride, which is something like a Haunted Mansion?
Okay.
Is it a thrill ride? And the obvious example being a coaster. And if it's a coaster, is it Gravity, or is it a launch coaster? And then there's so you get the idea. There's just a lot more scope to pick up, and that's not for everyone, but that's what you need to do. But I would add this: if you enjoy puzzles. I love working on these projects during the early stages, because it's just one huge puzzle, and bringing the pieces together and seeing the numbers form together. There's a lot of satisfaction with that, and then you can kind of stand back and often you end up with a 1,000-page estimate. So there's quite a sense of achievement. There's not a lot of folks that can pull that all together, right?
Is that one of your interview questions?
Do
you like puzzling?
Yeah,
Are you a puzzler?
Yeah, I'll add that.
That's a good question.
Wow. Okay. So for developers that are embarking or maybe embarking on one of their first major destinations or experiences in the near future, Eugenie, what are maybe 3 essential tips you'd give them kind of on the financial and project management side?
One of the key things is to basically set a budget and stay within the budget right from the start. So once the budget is established, the whole team agree to it, and the whole team knows that we are going to design to this number. And the budget is supposed to be the budget throughout the duration. Then another really key thing is, like Asif was saying, to get the estimator involved right from the start. And the other thing is, when it comes to vendors, get specialty vendors, that's like your show and ride vendors, get them involved as soon as possible, because they would be able to tell the architectural and structural team what is their needs, how much power they need, what they need where. And it's a really complicated process. So if you can get them involved from the start, and they are part of your design team, I would say, that really helps, and you sign them up early, which helps them to start, getting all their stuff together, getting the production going. Because if one of these show specialty vendors basically get delayed, it can have a really bad effect on the rest of it, where the whole program is being delayed, and it's always somebody else that relies on you because the critical path.
Right.
So I would say that is possibly the big things that I would recommend.
So a big theme of just getting everyone involved much, much sooner than you would in any other sector.
Yeah. And then when it comes to value engineering, like Asif was saying, you spend the money where the guest experience is, not on back of house. And what is the best value for the whether it's a theme park or a themed entertainment, family entertainment center, always look at what's the best value for the client and where do
putting
you want
the money
to spend
in
the money.
the guest experience. Okay. So how does this technology and the evolution of technology, how is that impacting the construction process these days? Or is it, I guess, is the question. I don't know.
Well, big time, because, simplest thing is possibly think about BIM, which is such a key model to make sure that when you come to theme park, there's so many more need for data and for, all these different services that all need to work together, and controls. So if you have your BIM and everybody works on BIM, you can make really sure that everything works out and there is no, no conflicts when it comes to different, so for instance, your mechanical system for your rides and the show components which need certain controls. That's all happening at the same spot. So that is, AI is really, really extremely useful for that.
Okay.
And then obviously I use AI to enhance the experience basically with all your so for instance, animatronics, making it more smooth, more efficient. I will basically, or the system would help with simple things like booking and to even facial recognition when people go into a park, just to reduce whatever waiting time there can be, to basically take care of all of that. And then obviously to do all these immersive experiences, you're heavily going to rely on that to do your VR and AR, and also the controls for it, especially if you combine for shows the special effects and sound system and everything. So all of that AI is a huge help in the team entertainment.
But also really impacting, it sounds like, construction and the facilities needed to house
exactly
the back end of that. Okay. So Asif, turning to you real quick here, I think a natural state after talking about technology, how does the next 5-10 years, what does that look like? What excites you the most? As you said before, what gets you excited about looking forward in themed entertainment? And what should we be watching out for?
I think technology is a big part of that. And where AI is going to go, who knows? But right now, I think the sky's the limit. Creative folks, of course, they have more tools to play with now.
Right?
They're
happy.
And even if you look at the latest animatronics, I mean, I went to a park the other day and I couldn't tell. And I was asking my family, is that a live performer or is that an animatronic? I mean, it's just incredible, right?
Well, it's incredible that's a question you're asking. Because you have a very critical eye when it comes to
I know, and that they caught me out, but it's fantastic. So that's really exciting where it's going to go. Look, throughout this whole sort of podcast, we've spoken about so many new projects. So I think, we have turned that corner post-COVID. And so there's just a lot of projects, and it's not just theme parks, right? So themed entertainment space covers so much. It's zoos, it's aquariums, it's FECs, it's the smaller experiences, right?
Now.
Yeah, so I think the sky's the limit. What excites me the most is really the opportunities for the next generation, all right? And they have opportunities to work on these types of projects way more than, let's say, 15 years ago. Part of that is education. I think there's more courses now out there, and I'd love to see those, whether it's in Florida or Las Vegas or USC. There's a great course. These are fantastic for the industry. So I think these are things I'm getting on a bit. So I'm looking for the next generation to step up, and it's a wonderful space to be in, So I'm really excited for the next generation. I think it's just a tremendous amount of upside.
Awesome. Eugenie, anything for you to close out here?
Yeah, you know what? I think what we would see in the future is your big IP brands that is such a big attraction for everybody will continue to have more experiences. So, for instance, if there's popular podcasts or if there's popular TV shows, that there will be more and more experiences that is based on those IPs.
So you're saying, is that kind of the direction with Netflix? Is that what you're referring
to? For instance, Netflix, yeah. But because if you have a very well-known IP, you're guaranteed that the visitors will come.
The fans of that IP.
Exactly. So I think some of the IPs that maybe not necessarily Disney and Universal, but popular TV shows or stuff like that will definitely have more themed entertainment experiences.
Wonderful. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating, but I think I got to cut it here. The scale, complexity, the creativity, everything involved in themed entertainment, it's truly remarkable, and it's wonderful to hear you guys sit and talk and discuss this. So thank you. And for our listeners, whether you're in construction or development, or just curious about what's going on in themed entertainment, thank you for joining in. Hopefully this has given you a better appreciation for everything that goes on behind the scenes to create these memorable experiences. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, review, wherever you get your podcasts. We would much appreciate it. And until next time, keep building the future. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Construction Insiders podcast. You can continue the conversation by leaving a comment, asking a question, or participating in our poll. You can also visit us at coming-group.com for more great resources from the most trusted team in the built environment. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes.